Hello, I'm doing my week 3 discussion 1 video for ITL 520. Today we're going to be talking about literacy acquisition and how we can just help build literacy skills through reading in a physical education class. And where this might be a little bit difficult as you just think about what generally happens in a physical education class, I think there can be some great ways that we can implement reading strategies or help build intrinsic motivation for students to want to build their knowledge and their educational skills for whether it be physical education content or not. I think there's some great strategies that we can use in a PE class. So 3 forms of complex text that I can see myself using in a PE class would be just books. Could be suggested books from myself or suggested books from other students to their peers. It could be something that relates to the content, such as historical sports books or fitness books. Whatever builds their interest and whatever they want to read, they are likely going to read. And offering choice, I believe, is one of the more important things when talking to a student that isn't interested in reading at the moment. Another complex text could be a sports or fitness article on the internet. With the internet being the go-to for most people, and it is literally just at each student's fingertips with cell phones. I believe that they can look up, sports from, a previous week or what's coming up in sports, injuries that happened in sports, just far beyond what the score was of the sports, but maybe looking a little bit deeper in some of the articles, for sports or even for fitness as well. Looking at fitness articles on some of their goals that they might want to achieve, whether that be to ways to build a stronger core, and they look up core exercise articles and the people that write those articles and their authenticity to writing those articles. It starts to help them critically think when they're starting to read through these articles. Another complex text could be similar to the online source, but just a paper source of a magazine or a newspaper article. Moving on now to 3 online sources that supported me in my search for inclusive and diverse text. I'll first start it off with Amazon and Audible. I believe those 2 online sources would be great for not only having students search through for books or for short articles on things that interest them, but Audible is going to be one that I think is specifically interesting for physical education because it is strictly through your headphones. And this allows students to possibly, maybe even for those readers that love reading already, maybe it could be something that challenges them to, instead of picking up a book and, sharpening their strength that they already have, and they, don't really have a keen interest towards physical education. It could be something to where they can listen to a book that comforts them, and then they can exercise at the same time. Not for a very long time. Maybe this is something for 10 to 15 minutes where they take a transition from reading a book to putting in headphones for a quick audible read. And while they're listening to that audible, they are participating in some sort of exercise. And maybe that's a good way to get those readers that already love to read to exercise a little bit more. Another online source could be just the sports page of a newspaper. Obviously, they offer online versions as well. And then for the more scientific stuff, you can look into PubMed, and They have reliable research articles in there, where if you're looking for more of the scientific stuff on ways to optimize muscle hypertrophy or ways to optimize muscle strength or endurance, the benefits of hydration, maybe the benefits of adding salt to your water, all those kind of things, those little scientific parts that could be interesting to some kids, they could find that on PubMed. So now moving on to 3 strategies that I would use or implement in my classroom to help build interest for reading. One of those is going to be sharing my own reading experiences with my students. I believe that this teaching strategy of modeling is going to be great for those students that, when they go home, nobody reads in their household, so why should I read? But when they go to school and they see that people actually enjoy reading, maybe it's something that they should try out. Another strategy would be to provide reading check-in cards that ask questions about their reading, for what they're reading. And this is just to provide them with some sort of quick check-in and questions to ask when they're reading articles to promote critical thinking. Some of those questions could be, what is the source? Is the source reliable? Is it up to date? What is the main idea of the author's purpose? What is the information presented by the author? What is the tone of the material? Does the writer use persuasive or emotional language? Is the material factual, opinion, or inference based? And was my way of thinking influenced by this article that I just read, or this book I just read, whatever? They could have that little check-in card and just check off those little boxes, or write little notes next to those little questions to help them rethink and recall something that they just read. And then lastly, my last strategy would just to be to make it fun. So instead of making reading mandatory in a physical education class, maybe it could be mandatory for some of our project-based learning exercises where they actually have to go do some research. But for more of like the book stuff and keeping up with sports and all of that, I think it would be just something fun to create extra credit opportunities where at the end of each week, maybe on a Friday, I go ahead and I ask them a couple sports questions about what happened that week in sports. If they get some of those questions right, they might get either an extra credit opportunity or a chance for free play in the following week. And I just think that would be a fun way to reward them for something, with that being reading or watching sports, keeping up with sports in articles, or listening to their Audible or podcast variations. So those are my ideas for promoting reading in physical education. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Look forward to your comments.